For someone who's made fun of how many games are called metroidvanias, I certainly buy and play a lot of them, and today's review is no different, since today I'm reviewing 9 Years of Shadows, a cool looking little pixel art metroidvania released in 2023, which I bought on sale not too long ago and am reviewing now because not only am I slow, but I'm also cheap. So did I like the game and think it's worth the money? Let's get into it and find out. You play as Europa, a warrior who goes to a castle to learn more about a curse that has removed all color from the world. Along with her is her childhood companion and emotional support stuffy, Apino, a cute little bear who, like Ali Sheedy in The Breakfast Club, doesn't really say much, just kind of emotes with weird noises. Except for when he's constantly saving you from getting killed. More on that later. While going through the castle, you learn more about Europa's past, the curse, what caused it, and you'll meet a merry band of whimsical artists you'll do some side quests for, along with getting some upgrades. The characters look great and add to the entire presentation of the game. While the graphics are good, I do have a critique that the areas themselves all have different themes and look great at first, but after a while did start to feel a little bit samey. What stood out to me were the characters and enemies and also the bosses, as they all pop with color, especially compared to the backgrounds. The game sports a more pixelated look like you'd see in Blasphemy, but without the gore or dark religious imagery. Funny enough, there's an Easter egg in one of the rooms that shows the penitent one in a painting, and I got a kick out of seeing that. The character designs take inspiration from several different periods of history that I've noticed, while the enemy designs, at least from my perspective, look heavily inspired by games like Valis 3 on the PC Engine CD and the Genesis, and even older games like Zexus on the NES. Everything has this armored crystal theme. The style of Europa's different armors, and the enemies in particular, all reminded me of it, and that's a compliment. Besides the graphics, the game's music is easily the game's strongest point, having been written by composers whose names I'm not going to repeat here because I tried to pronounce them during this recording and I absolutely butchered all their pronunciations, and then I gave up. But these are the composers who worked on Castlevania Bloodlines and Symphony of the Night, Mega Man, the one who worked on Metal Gear Solid, so yeah, pretty much an all-star list of composers here. If you don't want to play the game, you might actually just opt to buy the soundtrack, and I wouldn't blame you. The gameplay itself, unfortunately, left a lot to be desired, especially when up against other Metroidvania-styled games. I would say as far as that goes, it probably ranks toward the bottom of most of these types of games that I've played. To start with, exploration is an absolute chore to get through. Save points aren't very plentiful, and there are no checkpoints, meaning if you travel through most of an area without finding a save point and accidentally die, then you're going all the way back to wherever your last save is, and it might take several minutes of going back to that spot. Now, Castlevania did this as well, but the save points in that were usually scattered well enough that you would at least have found one in your travels. To the game's credit, there are doors usually marked as boss rooms, and you can tell where a save spot is by the lanterns that are marking it on the outside. There are no warp points either though, just some elevators. This means that if you somehow needed to get to the other side of the map, you're going to have to run all the way there. While I was playing this, I was thinking about the fact that modern gaming's quality of life features like fast travel made this better, while it can also be said that this might have made us softer as gamers compared to the die and restart the level style of games from the console generations in the 80s and 90s. It was after that, though, that I came to the conclusion that no, backtracking this much without a quicker way to get around really sucks and isn't fun. Warp points have been around for 30 some odd years now, and this game should have included them. The combat is really simple, and some design decisions were made that, frankly, I think are stupid. First and foremost, you have a light attack and a heavy attack. Simply put, the heavy attack is useless because your light attack is always fast enough to deal more damage than the heavy attack will. On top of that, the heavy attack cannot be cancelled into anything, so if you whiff it, or even if it connects, and the enemy attacks because they do not stagger in this game at all, then you're going to get hit. That is stupid and useless. In addition, your health bar is called the light bar, and you have vitality points as well. Think of the light bar as a shield. Take enough light damage and your vitality points will be vulnerable, and if you lose those, it's game over. It's not so bad, right? Well, you'll also have to use light energy attacks to open doors, break enemy shields, and hurt bosses who have shields of their own. Still not that bad? How about if I tell you that your ammo is tied directly to your health, and that if you run out of light energy, you can't use any light attacks at all, and you'll need to stop everything you're doing, try to find a safe place to stand perfectly still, to hold a button down to hug your stupid bear friend to get 3/4 of your light energy bar back. Doesn't sound so great now, does it? It is also stupid and useless.
Oh, that's nice, isn't it? That's very nice!
There were several of the many boss and mini-boss fights where I'd be out of light energy, the boss would expose their crystal armor, MacGuffin, whatever the crap, and I'd have no energy to attack or stun them, and I'd have to use that time to heal instead, missing an opportunity to fight back. It was such utter poppycock that made zero sense to me. But to be fair, there is a brief moment after your light bar is totally drained where you can hit a button at the right time in the little tiny bar above your head with a little tiny window to get a chunk of health back. This saved me a few times, but it is so brief that unless you're really waiting for it, you'll have a good chance of missing it. If you're slick, you can just let yourself take the hit so you can heal and get more health and ammo, but then again, I think that's crummy game design and you shouldn't have to rely on that. Also, by the time you're ready for the last boss, because of a plot twist you'll see from a mile away, this whole mechanic is taken from you anyway, so if you do get good at doing this, it's all going to be for nothing. And being that you're playing as a chick, she takes hits like one too, and that light bar will drop in just a few hits before you're scrambling to try and heal yourself with your emotional support bear. So, does Europa have anything else at her disposal? Well, she has a few different types of armor to transform into that don't affect her damage output whatsoever unless you happen to hit an enemy with the same color outline as the armor you're wearing, but the damage difference is pretty negligible, so in the time it takes you to hit the buttons to cycle through armors, you might as well just wail on the enemy until it's dead. Each armor comes with a few different ways to transform and travel once you find them, but that's just for getting to new areas, and again, they're not really going to make getting around any faster for really irritating reasons I've already mentioned. You can upgrade the armor by finding some items and some currency, however, each armor can only be upgraded once. You can also upgrade your light bar and your vitality a few times, which never really felt helpful to me. What's the point of upgrading your light slash shield slash health stuff if it gets totally drained in just a few hits? It's like upgrading your health in Dark Souls a couple of times expecting to see that make any noticeable difference when fighting a boss. After doing all of that, the leftover currency that you have is useless. You don't get any sort of XP for fighting enemies, which means that by halfway through the game, there's almost no incentive to fight the rank-and-file trash enemies, and you're probably just going to run past them, maybe take some damage, and then in the next room find a safe spot to heal and do it all over again. Doesn't that sound like fun? No. The enemies at times will also not attack at all. Did you enter a room with an enemy's back facing you? Well, by all means, beat the hell out of him until he's dead, because he's not going to react to it at all. Just remember, there's basically no point in even killing them after a while. It'll be like taking out security guards in these spy TV shows and movies where they're basically just in the scene to get killed. 9 Years of Shadows, like the last Nissan I owned, started out alright, but the problems really started appearing as I spent more time with it, and by the end, I just wanted to be done with it. If you must play this to see for yourself whether you'll like it, then I would say to absolutely wait for it to come on sale. As of this video, the Steam Spring Sale has it for $8. The game looks pretty good, but the combat and ammo system are miserable, and the amount of backtracking you do without any sort of easier ways to get around really killed the incentive to explore. Just pretty much the thing you have to get right in a game like this, in addition to running out of rewards for any currency you pick up. I was reading through the forums on Steam, and I guess the developers promised to do some improvements to the game, like adding fast travel and balancing some fights and things like that, but they didn't deliver yet, so I don't know if they just stopped supporting it or what. Either way, I'm not playing through this a second time. I'd sooner play Symphony of the Night for the 90th time or Hollow Knight or one of the Ori games. The soundtrack is absolutely worth getting though, so maybe just pick that up instead. That's all I've got for today's video. Thanks for watching.